How to Make Learning Real by Laurel Wiehe. In order to make learning real for our students, we have to engage their entire body, starting with their mind, moving to their emotions, and finishing with their exercise and overall health. This type of study is known as educational neuroscience. It looks at the way our brains process information, how we learn, and how this relates to education. We're going to start by looking at cognitive processing. This will help us to understand the way in which our brains learn, and therefore how we can help our students learn. Judy Willis in 2010 explains the age-old idea of practice makes perfect by explaining the concept of neuroplasticity. This is the idea that the brain can change itself through repeated pattern use. When we repeatedly do something, whether it's juggling a soccer ball or multiplication tables, our brain creates a neural pathway for the neurons to travel. Over time, this pathway becomes a superhighway, making room for more information in the brain. In the 1990s, a new development known as fMRI, or functional magnetic resonance imaging, allowed scientists to study living brains more accurately. It allowed scientists such as Michael Posner and Judy Willis to pinpoint the areas of the brain associated with learning, with images such as these. The different areas of the brain light up when activated. The areas associated with learning include the visual cortex, the temporal lobe, the amygdala, the prefrontal cortex, Broca's area, and Wernicke's area. We know from these images that our brain first processes information at the back of our head in our sensory cortexes. It can then be brought forward to our amygdala, an area of the brain that releases dopamine in response to stimuli. The information can finally be brought to our prefrontal cortex, or the executive center of the brain, where it can be converted into a memory. This leads us into the emotion of our students' learning, or the heart of their learning. This will help us to understand how we can connect the information to their lives so that they can better remember it. According to John Medina in 2008, we first need to look at attention and ECS, or emotionally competent stimuli. Medina claims that after 10 minutes in class, our students lose their attention. In order for meaningful learning to happen, we need to re-grab their attention using a hook loaded with ECS. He says we pay better attention to things that are emotionally arousing, and patterns are things we have seen before. Imordino Yang and Faith take it one step further and claim that without emotion, learning is impaired. They demonstrated the power of subliminal emotion with a gambling simulation. Those students who were attuned to their emotions were able to figure out the rules of the game. Those students who couldn't access their emotions never learned the rules. This can be applied to teaching with the idea that no emotion leads to no connection to the material, which leads to no influence on the student's life, and therefore no learning. In order to be considered a #1 teacher and counteract the no emotion spiral, we must access our students' emotions in a way that is relevant to the material, so that students continue to want to learn and explore new ideas. Goldman in 1995 explains that it isn't enough to simply engage our students' emotions. We also need to help them to manage these emotions. He puts forth an idea of emotional intelligence and posits that it is necessary for success after school. If students are able to recognize their own emotions, manage their emotions, and perceive emotions in others while handling relationships, they will be better prepared for the rest of their life. This leads us into our understanding of exercise and its effects on learning and the brain. According to Medina in 2008, exercise boosts brain power by increasing the flow of blood to the brain, which increases your ability to think. Exercise also stimulates BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This acts as a fertilizer for your brain, allowing for new cell formation in the brain. More exercise equals more BDNF, which equals more of an ability to learn. In 2008, Rady examined a high school in Naperville, Illinois that was changing physical education and exercise. This school offered a 0-hour gym class for students who needed to improve their reading or math scores. By working in their target 3 heart rate zone for 30 minutes 3 times a day, their scores improved. Rady found that if students exercise before their most challenging class, they are more likely to perform better in that class. This is due to an increase in BDNF and neurotransmitters such as dopamine and norepinephrine. This all contributes to a stronger student. Ultimately, to make learning real, we need to contribute all that we know about how our brains process information, how emotion is connected to memory and a desire for learning, and how exercise can help facilitate more brain power and better understanding of academic subjects. We need to engage the whole of our students and not just their minds.